As the 2024 US presidential elections are upon us, let's dive into a deep and long-standing division within America, one that has taken on sharper contours in recent years. It's called the Two Americas, which means two distinct visions of what the country is and what it should be. This year's presidential race featuring Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is a battleground for these competing visions, but the roots go back centuries. America has always contained multitudes. From the days of the founding fathers, there were divides between states and federal power, between agrarian and industrial interests, between the slaves and the free. After the Civil War, these divisions persisted, and over time, new ones emerged between urban and rural, wealthy and working class, black and white. The phrase Two Americas itself was popularized by former Senator John Edwards in 2004, who described an America split along lines of wealth, opportunity, and justice. But today, these divides feel deeper than ever. Fast forward to the 21st century, and these divides are no longer just economic, they are cultural, racial, and ideological. And the Trump-Harris race brings it all to a head. On one side, Harris represents a more progressive vision, one that appeals to younger, multicultural, and more educated Americans. On the other hand, Trump rallies traditionalists who favor conservative values and often feel alienated by what they see as a rapid societal change. So what are these two Americas in 2024? Let's break them down. Donald Trump's America is about making America great again, a phrase that appeals to a return to traditional values, a time before globalization and rapid demographic shifts. Trump's support base, which is largely white, rural, and conservative. They talk about threats to free speech, religious liberty, and American sovereignty. Trump's rhetoric emphasizes a law and order approach, nationalism, and an America-first foreign policy. His supporters see Harris and Democrats as part of an elite disconnected from the challenges of Middle America. They want a president who, as they see it, will protect their interests and return to what they view as the real America. Then, of course, there's Kamala Harris's America, which embraces diversity, global cooperation, and progressive social policies. Harris's vision appeals to those who want a more inclusive society, one that addresses racial injustices, economic inequalities, and environmental crises. Harris speaks to minorities, young people, and urban voters who feel that America's strength lies in its ability to evolve.
This election. Look, we know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election. An election that he knew he lost. Americans died as a result of that attack. 140 law enforcement officers were injured because of that attack. And while Donald Trump sat in the White House watching as the violence unfolded on television,
Harris argues for a version of America that is inclusive, and her policies, basically on healthcare, climate crisis, and immigration, reflect that vision. To her supporters, Trump's rhetoric represents a dangerous step backward, a vision of America that excludes the marginalized and ignores the interconnected world. This clash was on full display during the recent debate. Harris and Trump's foreign policy stances alone capture these contrasting Americas.
Trump, on the other hand, threatened to abandon NATO. He encouraged Putin to invade our allies, said Russia could, quote, do whatever the hell they want. 5 days before Russia attacked Ukraine, I met with President Zelensky to warn him about Russia's plan to invade. I helped mobilize a global response, over 50 countries, to defend against Putin's aggression. And as president, I will stand strong with Ukraine and our NATO allies.
Their stupidity. They got us into Ukraine. We should have never gone into Ukraine. If I was president, you would have never gone into Ukraine. This is not a charity event. This is an election for the biggest and toughest job.
For Trump, it is about America going it alone, focusing inward. For Harris, it's about international alliances and collective security.
And these divisions go beyond policy. They are also cultural. Harris's America sees diversity as strength. Her supporters advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, women's autonomy, and racial justice. On the other hand, for Trump's base, these changes are unsettling, which is a departure from what they believe America stands for. The cultural gap here is stark. On issues like abortion, marriage equality, and police reform, the two sides couldn't be further apart.
So in this race, it's not just Trump versus Harris. It's a fight between these two Americas, and for voters, it's a choice between two futures. One rooted in the familiar past, the other aiming for a progressive vision. The big question is, can these two Americas coexist? Are they reconcilable, or is it the divide too deep? This election will likely determine the answer. For now, each side rallies its base, with Trump leaning into a narrative of traditionalism and Harris one of inclusivity. As election day approaches, Americans will have to decide which vision of America resonates with them and which future they want to fight for. Will they move towards a more inclusive nation or hold tight to traditional values?